Alright, so I flipped it over. It's not at its level yet. I'm still trying to work out dimensions and lengths. So I've measured from, let's get to it, that bolt hole through to this point here, which is basically that point. It's 161.5 centimeters. Now the total length from the center of that to the center of that one over there is 208.5 centimeters. So what I've done is I've used this as my location, and I've followed the contour of the frame itself, and there's a bit of a kick here, so obviously that's where it leveled out with this one. It's funny, you don't see these things until you sort of get right into it. I wish I'd seen that earlier, it would have made my life a lot easier, but anyway, I still had to measure it correctly. So this is obviously some sort of flange that was welded on the outside of this rail. It might have even been, that might even be the remnants of this original one, because they weren't this wide and they had a bit of a flange on them, so I'm guessing that's what that is, just at a glance right now. So you can see it's pretty badly damaged. So yeah, that's the flange of this original one, which isn't there. And then what I've done is I've taken measurements from this point. Well, actually I took it at where the kick is. So where the kick started, I took that measurement to the center of that, and as long as my numbers matched up, and I ended up with 2085 mils, or 208 centimeters, 208.5 centimeters, I know I was correct. So that's pretty much what I've done here. So as far as the bolt hole or the line-up hole is concerned, this is the patch panel that I need to make for both sides. And what I'll do is I'll make this, and then fix it in here. I'm not going to worry about any repairing of any of this other stuff yet. The main priority for me is to get the measurements correct now, and then ground down, and then I'll probably put a tack on the bottom and have it slightly sitting down, and then just jack it up with the jack until that measurement and that back one are exact within, you know, a millimetre, 2 millimeters. And obviously this has to be level as well. So that's where I am. A lot of staring and a lot of trying to how to work it out, because obviously it's they never thought that these cars would end up like this, and there'd be people like me trying to rebuild them. So they didn't have all the measurements, just some basic ones that I would like to have had. You know, if I was able to run vertical bars up and then take measurements down to points like that, would have been nice, or that point up to an unknown or a known figure and then back down again. But there isn't any that I can find, so I'm doing the best that I can. So as long as the distance between the support tube, front, top, bolt, center, and this center are exactly what the factory specs are, I think I should be okay. And obviously it can't be racked, so it's got to be exact on both sides, and then level this way. If I get those things exact to within a millimetre, I think I can really start to get to town on this thing and really start building up from where I am now. I want to be able to get it onto wheels, but I can't do that until this is on. So this is like a bit of a hurdle now. So I get stuck in, I'll go have something to eat, and then I'll make these two up, and then I'll be cutting. I don't really want to cut this hole out, so maybe what I might do is cut them like that to begin with, and just I'll make the whole one and then cut it and then put the new one on. So take the old part away and then weld the new one in, and then come back later after it's all final welded and in place. I can cut that out, put that hole back in, because I won't need it from that point, but I will need it definitely to square it up and align it all. So these things, you sit here and stare at them longer than you actually do it. Like simple stuff like fixing that's nothing. You just sort of look at the other side and work out the distances and blah blah blah, roll some beads and take a paper measurement. But this here is quite exacting. It has to be exactly right. There's no room for, you know, oh, that'll be okay. It's got to be within tolerance. So I don't even think there is a tolerance for this. It has to be right. So, and that's where those line-up holes would have come into it originally when they had them on the jigs. Like there's one there, there's one there, and there was the one in the center there. So obviously this was one part originally, so that wouldn't have mattered. But for me now, to get this to line up with that is where I'm at. So I'll get started and bring you back.